How do you build a passive income with property? Many property investors want to quit their day jobs and just live off the rent coming from their properties, but how do you actually do it? In today's video, you're going to learn the Golden Goose strategy, including what the Golden Goose is, how to set it up the right way, and what properties to buy when you use the Golden Goose. To use the Golden Goose strategy, you first need to build an investment portfolio to grow your wealth. That's because when you buy a rental property with a big mortgage, most of that rent is going to go to paying the bank interest, not often any passive income left. But if you can get rid of that mortgage, the money that was going to the bank, that starts coming to you. So step one is to build your wealth. And if you want to know how to do that, check out this video on the 3 stages of property investment. The link is down in the description. I'll give you an example of someone who could use the Golden Goose. Last week, I met an investor in New Plymouth who owns 6 rental properties, and to protect her identity, we'll call her Mary. Together, they were worth $4.5 million, and she has $1.5 million of mortgages. She told me that she wants a passive income of $80,000. So, how much of a passive income could she create based on her current portfolio? Well, use this formula. For every $1 million of net assets that you have, you can typically generate the equivalent of a $40,000 salary. In other words, we aim for a 4% net yield. Mary, she's got $4.5 million of assets. So let's take away that $1.5 million of debt. What's she got left over? $3 million in net assets. So if $1 million in assets gives you a 40K passive income, her $3 million could give her a potential passive income of about $120,000, way more than the 80 grand she wanted. So if you want to calculate the number of assets that you need to live the lifestyle that you want, take the income you want to live on, say $100,000, and divide it by 4%. That's 0.04. This will give you the level of net assets that you need. In this case, 100 grand passive income, that's $2.5 million of net assets needed. To implement the Golden Goose, you need to change the investment properties you own. Initially, most people will do what Mary did. She invested in standalone houses, which we call growth properties. These types of properties increase in value faster, but they do have poorer cash flow. And that is typically what you want to invest in when you're building your wealth. But once you implement the Golden Goose, your goal is cash flow. So you want to move to yield properties. Now, these won't grow in value as fast, but they will do a better job at generating that passive income. Now, if Mary tried to implement the Golden Goose without changing her properties, she'd be about 30 grand worse off per year. So what's Mary got to do? She's got to sell down her portfolio and transition to something with a higher yield. And this is true for most investors implementing this strategy. And if you want to learn even more about the Golden Goose and all the property strategies we talk about on this channel, you need to read our upcoming book, Wealth Plan. You can pre-order your copy now at wealthplanbook.com. The link is down in the description. And once you read that book, you'll know that making this transition and selling your properties, hey, that costs money. You've got to pay the real estate agent. You've got to pay the lawyers. And that ends up taking about 5% of your current portfolio's value. So if Mary sold all her $4.5 million of property, she should budget for $225K for all those sales costs. After that, she's got to pay the bank back $1.5 million, and that will leave her with just under $2.8 million in cash. So how could she build a passive income using this money? Now's the fun part. Mary gets to go shopping for high-yielding investments. And to do that, she might use a property investment company like us here at Opus. Now, high-yielding properties tend to be room-by-room rentals, student accommodation, and dual key apartments. But it can also be things like hotel rooms. So let's look at examples of properties that Mary could buy. Firstly, she might look at this $899K dual key townhouse in Wellington. This property has a 1-bedroom apartment on the first floor and another on the second floor. These rent for $550 a week each, which means this property has a 6.4% gross yield, bringing in $57.2K in rent per year. Of course, there are rates, insurance, maintenance, property management, and a few other costs. These add to around 18 grand a year and will leave Mary with $39,200 in annual passive income. That's a 4.4% net yield, which is better than the 4% minimum we're looking for. Next up, she might buy this Henderson property, which has 4 studio apartments in the one title. This costs about $1.35 million and has total rental income of about 74 grand a year. Because it's rented out to a social housing provider, no vacancy, no property management, just body corporate and rates. So the costs only come to $5.6k a year. That's going to leave Mary with an extra $68,000 in annual passive income. So with just 2 properties, she's already up to a touch over 107 grand a year in passive income, way above her 80 grand target. But on top of that, she's still got just over $500,000 left to spend. That's not a lot for a property, so what could she buy? Well, just before I tell you, if you enjoy learning about real property strategies that you can use, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. We release new videos every Monday and Wednesday. Well, with that extra 500 odd K she's got left, she might buy a hotel room in Auckland for $253,000. This brings in 15 grand a year in rent, but there's no vacancy since it's on a commercial lease. That's a 5.9% gross yield, and it's got about $5,000 a year worth of expenses, which gives Mary just under a $10,000 passive income. So let's say that Mary bought all 3 properties. Together, she's spent a touch under $2.5 million and still has some money left over. And for that, she's got 146 grand of rent coming in every year, but she's also got some costs to pay, about 29 grand per year. Now, if you take that away, she's got to keep 117 grand in passive income per year, more than she wanted, and she's still got about $250,000 left over. Now, the good thing about this is, as long as Mary keeps these properties, that income is going to continue for the rest of her life. She's built a permanent passive income just using property.